After being secretly married for 3 years, my superstar wife Victoria suddenly gained the ability to read minds, unbeknownst to me. To help her and her first love, Ethan, get back together, I continued playing the role of the devilish antagonist. On the surface, I acted as if I'd rather die than divorce her, glaring at them and saying fiercely, "Neither of you should ever dream of rekindling your old flame in this lifetime." But deep down, I was screaming, "Your first love is already on the brink of collapse after all I've done. Just sign the divorce papers already. I'm waiting to finish this film, grab the $10 million alimony, and buy myself a yacht." However, Victoria didn't play by the book. Not only did she expose our marriage to the media, but that same night she also made us a trending topic. While on set, I intentionally pushed Ethan, her first love, into the lake, which made her extremely distressed. She immediately pulled him out and rushed him to the hospital. According to the original storyline, tonight was supposed to be the night Victoria would divorce me. She was meant to throw $10 million at my face coldly and tell me to disappear from her and Ethan's lives forever. As my character was nearing its end, I barely managed to hold back my laughter. When I pushed open Victoria's office door, I crossed my arms and raised my chin with a cocky, defiant look. "Hey, has Ethan kicked the bucket yet?" I sneered. Victoria raised her eyes impatiently, glancing at me. Inside, I was ecstatic. Haha, she's mad. I've been so vile, surely now she'll slap the divorce papers and that black card worth $1 million in my face and tell me to get lost. But to my shock, Victoria merely replied nonchalantly, "He just caught a cold, that's all. A bit of medicine will fix him." What? I was irritated. Is this how a powerful CEO acts when she wants a divorce? I kicked over her most prized vase and taunted her further. "That little punk Ethan thinks he can compete with me. Dream on. I won't divorce you. You two can forget about rekindling anything in this lifetime." Inside, though, I was thinking, I've humiliated your first love this much, so why aren't you yelling at me? Come on, throw that dirty money at my face already. To my utter disbelief, Victoria didn't look the least bit angry. Instead, she stared at me with an amused smile. "Don't worry, darling. I didn't prepare a black card, and I have no intention of divorcing you." Huh? I froze on the spot. What does she mean, no divorce? Is it because I haven't been evil enough? That can't be it. I've been following the script to the letter and causing chaos wherever I go. Just as I was questioning the bizarre turn of events, a warm embrace wrapped around me from behind. Victoria hugged me, her voice soft and affectionate. "Today is our 3rd wedding anniversary. Tonight I'll come home and have dinner with you. Make sure to get ready." Get ready for what? I was just a minor character in this soap opera-esque CEO novel, meant to be the villainous ex-husband of the female lead, Victoria. My daily tasks revolved around making life difficult for the hero, Ethan, and sabotaging their path to reconciliation. All I wanted was to finish my role, collect the $10 million alimony, and move on. At first, everything went as planned. He ran, she chased, and the two seemed destined to reunite. But 6 months ago, Victoria was in a car accident, and everything started to go haywire. She tore up all her old photos with Ethan and treated him with unexpected indifference when he returned from abroad. I began to wonder if my performance as the devilish antagonist was too fake. Maybe Ethan wasn't pitiable enough to win back Victoria's heart? So whenever I had scenes targeting Ethan, I went all out, making sure to deliver a convincing performance. Sure enough, Ethan ended up miserable because of me. But still, Victoria remained unmoved. I racked my brains, trying to figure out where things had gone wrong. Just then, Victoria's playful voice came from outside the bathroom door. "Honey, you've been hiding in there for an hour. If you don't come out soon, I'm coming in." Curled up in the bathtub, every hair on my body stood on end. Wasn't Victoria supposed to remain celibate for Ethan's sake? What's with the candlelit dinner, the stockings, and the nurse's outfit she prepared at home? Yes, her figure was stunning, and her face was exactly my type. But this is supposed to be a clean romance novel. There's no room for anything steamy. Before I could think any further, Victoria began counting down. I'll count to 3, 1, T2. When she reached 2.98 seconds, I shakily opened the bathroom door. Victoria pressed me against the wall, her hand casually resting on my shoulder. I cursed internally, trying to hold back the urge to scream. She raised an eyebrow slightly, pressing a finger to my lips. Hush, don't ruin the mood. Just as I was about to shove her away, her phone rang. Thankfully, the caller ID caught my eye. It was Ethan. Seizing the opportunity, I channeled my inner devil and pushed her away. What's Ethan calling you for at this hour? I snapped through gritted teeth. On the other end of the line, Ethan's weak voice barely carried over. Victoria, I'm all alone at the hospital. Could you come keep me company? Tonight's not convenient, Victoria replied coolly, her tone so indifferent that even I furrowed my brows. Ethan had been trying to win her back ever since returning from abroad, but he hadn't made any progress at all. Victoria, I know you hate me, resent me, for leaving you back then to study abroad, but you're the only person I can rely on here. At that moment, Victoria looked up at me, and I quickly averted my gaze. Pretending not to hear anything, I stepped aside to give Victoria and the hero some private space. After all, providing such moments for the leads was part of my sacred duty as the devil. But to my surprise, Victoria smiled and flatly refused. It's late, and my husband would get jealous. If you're really that bored, I can call a few attendants to keep you company. Jealous? Who eats jealousy these days? Best wishes to you two patching things up and locking it down. Just stop dragging me into it, will you? I don't even get paid overtime here, I grumbled internally. Suddenly, Victoria stood on her toes and bit down hard on my neck. The sharp pain made me suck in a cold breath. Unfortunately, the sound caught Ethan's attention over the phone. He asked cautiously, Victoria, are you with Sincere right now? Victoria pulled away, her piercing gaze warning me to stay in line. She replied impatiently, Isn't it normal to be with my husband? Mr. Ethan, calling a married woman late at night is rather impolite, don't you think? Ethan wasn't ready to give up. Victoria, have you really forgotten me? Forgotten our past? You once said I was the only one you'd ever love in this lifetime. His voice was hoarse, carrying just the right amount of heartbreak to tug at anyone's heartstrings, even mine. But Victoria, ever the ice queen, coldly shot back, What's in the past should stay in the past. And just like that, she hung up. I stood there, dumbfounded, a metaphorical stampede of wild horses galloping through my mind. Were these two breaking up? But that's not how the story was supposed to go. They were supposed to reconcile and team up to kick me out, weren't they? Anxiously, I tried to probe Victoria. Are you really not going to the hospital to see Ethan? She snuggled closer to me, pouting as she said, Of course not. You're my husband. Why would I go accompany another man? From now on, I'll only pamper and love you, okay? I forced a smile, but inside I was screaming. Pamper me? Love me? Yeah, right. If you want to add drama, you'd better add dollars to my paycheck. Victoria leaned in closer, her burning gaze practically melting me. I backed away in fear, but she advanced until I was cornered. Only then did she speak again. Husband, shouldn't we? Continue? Continue what? I gulped nervously, my eyes involuntarily drifting downward. This woman, who was usually so aloof, was suddenly acting out of character. I couldn't help but wonder, hadn't I? A dashing guy with an 8-pack, been lying next to her for 3 years without stirring any reaction? Why the sudden change tonight? Victoria's face darkened. She grabbed my wrist, forcing my hand onto her waist and gritted her teeth. I'm talking about fulfilling my duties as a wife. Otherwise, someone might start spreading rumors about how cold I am. My heart skipped a beat. If I hadn't read the script before getting teleported into this story, I might have thought she had mind-reading powers. But no, Victoria was just an ordinary bossy CEO character with nothing but money to her name, no supernatural tricks in play. I chuckled nervously and tried to change the subject. Honey, didn't the doctor say you should rest more? Is your head still hurting? Inside, I made a mental note. It must be that car accident 6 months ago that scrambled her brain. Maybe once she fully recovers, the derailed plot will get back on track. But Victoria wasn't buying it. In one swift move, she started undoing her buttons. The moment her skin brushed against mine, I panicked. No. A man saying no really means no, I stammered, blushing furiously. My back's been hurting lately. I can't do anything too strenuous. Taking advantage of her stunned silence, I bolted into the bathroom. That night I didn't get a wink of sleep, my mind spinning with all sorts of scenarios. What a pity, though. If only my back weren't acting up, I could have at least scored some perks. The next morning, Victoria showed up with dark circles under her eyes, glaring at me furiously. "From now on, no overthinking while we sleep," she warned. I was baffled. Did she not sleep well either? Later, on set, I ran into Ethan, who had arrived early. His frail coughing act was so convincing that even the director felt sorry for him. "Ethan's still recovering," the director said. "Let's use camera tricks for the slap scene later." But Ethan, ever the professional, insisted, "Don't worry about me. Filming should be taken seriously. I won't let my personal issues affect the crew." His determination earned him a round of applause from everyone on set. Then, in a low voice, Ethan shot me a provocative look and said, "Sincere, don't hold back later, okay?" Unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. I was already more eager to be written out of this script than he was. Stretching my wrists, I noticed Victoria watching from the sidelines. Feeling inspired, I slipped into character, adopting my signature devilish smirk. As soon as Ethan delivered his line, I swung my hand in a perfectly timed slap. Before my hand could even make contact, he dramatically crumpled to the floor. Wow, I thought, what a team player. But then I realized he had fainted for real. I immediately called for a cut and improvised, "Director, I think Ethan just passed out from my slap." The crew rushed over to check on him, and under the director's pleading gaze, Victoria helped Ethan to his feet, ready to take him to the hospital. But just then, Ethan regained consciousness and, trying to maintain his nice guy persona, weakly smiled. Fearing Victoria would blame me, I quickly stepped in to cover for myself. "Don't blame Sincere, it was my own carelessness that made me fall." Immediately I fanned the flames and voluntarily jumped in to take the scolding. "No, I did it on purpose. I even thoughtfully provided the most logical reason for my malicious actions. This slap is to remind you that Victoria is someone you can never covet." Ethan bit his lip hard, his face full of grievance as he turned away, looking like a fragile gentleman that anyone would pity. However, without me, the devil, as a foil, his acting skills would be mediocre at best. I took on the blame willingly, endured the scolding without complaint. Honestly, what other devil could be more professional than me? I am undoubtedly the next Oscar-winning actor. Ha ha. Just as I was reveling in my own inner pride, Victoria doused my and Ethan's heads with a bucket of cold water. She exposed everything with a blank expression. That face-slapping scene was too fake. Sincere didn't even hit your face. Since you're fine, let's reshoot the scene. I was dumbfounded, and so was Ethan. The crew on set stood frozen in place. Only the director stepped forward to back Victoria up. That's right. Victoria and I saw it clearly on the monitors. The scene looked quite fake. Exposed, Ethan and I awkwardly shuffled our feet, embarrassed and unable to meet anyone's gaze. We had no choice but to reshoot the slap scene. This time, Ethan took a solid slap from me, and his face instantly turned red and swollen. He turned back to glare at me fiercely. Feeling guilty, I muttered under my breath, "Blame Victoria. Everything was going fine until she had to call us out." Ethan didn't catch what I said and demanded I speak louder. I coughed awkwardly and said, "Well, Victoria doesn't care that much about you. Yesterday she even told me that she'll love only me from now on, so I suggest you give up on her." I deliberately said this to provoke him. Sure enough, Ethan immediately sprang into action. During the following shoots, he kept finding excuses to stick close to Victoria. He even bribed the director to add more romantic scenes between them, determined to rekindle Victoria's memories of their sweet first. Meanwhile, I finally got a rare moment of peace, finding every excuse to escape the set and leave hero and queen their private moments. While I was lounging at a nightclub, sipping on cocktails and draping my arm around a young lady, my manager called me in a panic. "Why are you trending on social media again for being scolded?" I sobered up halfway on the spot and quickly opened Twitter. Sure enough, I was trending. The headline: Puppy sincere jealous to the extreme, slaps queen's first twice. It turned out someone had maliciously edited a video of me slapping Ethan on set and added my sarcastic remarks, turning it into a scandal. Seeing the 3 million views climb even higher, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, I thought. I was worried Victoria might intervene, and Ethan's attempt to overshadow me would fall flat. My manager, barely holding back her frustration, snapped, "What? You're worried Ethan won't overshadow you? Fine, I'm done with you. Keep going, see if you don't destroy yourself completely." Tipsy, I chuckled and said, "Thanks for the encouragement. Once I ruin myself and finish filming, I'll make sure to give you a big bonus." My manager was speechless. "Thanks so much for your generosity. Looking back at the past 3 years since I was transported into this book, I've worked hard to maintain my puppy persona. Wherever Victoria filmed, I joined the same crews. Whatever variety show she was on, I tagged along like an obedient lackey, blending into the background. All this effort was for the grand moment when the whole internet would turn against me. After all, the book said my fate as the scorned ex-husband was to be publicly shamed until I left the entertainment industry. Then I'd take the $10 million divorce settlement and disappear, living the carefree life of a wealthy bachelor. Although things hadn't gone smoothly, Victoria hadn't divorced me yet. Being infamously disgraced and forced out of the industry was a good way to speed up my arc. I opened the comments section and scrolled through the flood of insults. It felt like gold coins were raining down on me. Feeling triumphant, I wrapped my arm around the young lady next to me and declared boldly, "Stick with me, and when I get my divorce settlement, I'll give you $1 million. After partying all night, the nightclub staff had to call me a cab home. To my surprise, Victoria was waiting downstairs when I arrived. She saw me stumbling out of the cab reeking of alcohol and dragged me to a corner with barely contained fury. "Don't tell me you're drinking because you're upset about the hate from the trolls," she demanded. I clung to my sponsor mommy's leg, grumbling, "Of course I'm drinking to drown my sorrows, but my sorrow is that you still haven't divorced me. The yacht and sports car are ready. I'm just waiting on the divorce papers and the $10 million. Victoria grabbed my shoulders, gritting her teeth. "What did you just say? Say it again." I hiccuped, then passed out completely. When I woke up the next morning, Victoria was nowhere to be found, but I couldn't care less about where she went. I excitedly jumped out of bed and opened Twitter. The top trending hashtag was now "Ban Puppy Sincere Forever from the Entertainment Industry." Meanwhile, my manager was still fighting in the comments, trying to defend me. Among the furious trolls were the fake fans she had paid to whitewash my reputation. But at this point, nothing could stop my self-destruction. I grabbed my keyboard and started typing furiously, posting 3 tweets to add fuel to the fire. Yes, it was deliberate when I slapped Ethan. If he dared to covet the woman I had my eyes on, he should have known there'd be consequences. So what if Victoria doesn't like me? I enjoy keeping her close to me. If Ethan dares to pester her again, I won't let him off easily. Every word I said danced on the edge of the audience's moral boundaries. Even my manager couldn't be bothered to manage me anymore. "You're hopeless. Might as well vanish from the industry," they said. I sent a message to comfort them. "What's the big deal? Just being forced out of the spotlight, right? No problem. However much the contract termination fee is, I'll cover it. Plus, I'll send you a hefty bonus for all your hard work over the years." It took a long time before my manager replied. And when they did, they were practically shaking me through the phone. "Sincere, you've hit the jackpot. Do you even know what's happening? Check out Queen Victoria's social media right now. She just made an announcement and posted your marriage certificate." What? I hurriedly opened her profile. 5 minutes ago, Victoria had posted our wedding photo. The caption read, My husband loves me so much that he spoke out of turn on a public platform. I hope fans can be understanding. And Ethan, please show some restraint. I am, after all, a married woman." The internet exploded. No one could believe it. The same Victoria, known for tearfully declaring in interviews that she could never forget Ethan, had married someone like me, a washed-up nobody. And not just that, she publicly cut ties with Ethan to defend me. The narrative online flipped instantly. Suddenly, I wasn't the third wheel in someone else's relationship. It was Ethan who was. So, I've been bashing Sincere all this time, only to find out the real schemer was Ethan. Wait, so when Sincere ranted about Ethan earlier, it wasn't just madness. It was because his wife publicly sided with him? In shock, I stared at the flood of comments as the tide of public opinion turned. This wasn't in the script at all. I hurriedly called Victoria, but she hung up. Moments later, she texted back, "I'm in a meeting." I couldn't wait another second. Grabbing my briefcase, I rushed to her office. She glanced up from her desk, lifting an elegant brow. "No need to be so touched. This is just my duty as a wife," she said casually. Breathing heavily, I glared at her and cursed internally. "Touched? My ass. I want a divorce." "Divorce? Don't you think you should ask for my opinion first before announcing our marriage to the world?" Seeing my displeasure, Victoria frowned slightly, but kept her voice gentle as usual. "What's wrong, darling? Isn't this what you've always wanted?" Her words left me speechless. True, when I was playing the role of her devoted puppy, I had said things like that. But that was all for show. Victoria put down her pen and walked over to me, gently wiping the sweat from my nose with her finger. Lowering her voice, she said, "Ever since we became husband and wife, it's always been you making sacrifices for me. 3 years is a long time. Even a stone would warm up eventually. From now on, I'll keep a close eye on you, love you wholeheartedly, and not let anyone else get between us. Okay?" I forced a smile and replied, "Really, honey? I'm so happy." But inside I was screaming. Overjoyed? I'm about to die from the absurdity of this plot. Just then, a commotion erupted outside the office. The door was suddenly pushed open, and in stormed Ethan, his face twisted with anger. 2 security guards followed, apologizing profusely. We tried to stop him, but he insisted on coming up. Victoria's icy gaze met Ethan's, but he was undeterred. "Victoria, why won't you see me?" he demanded. Sensing the tension, I tactfully ushered the security guards out, even closing the door behind me to give them privacy. Still, I couldn't help but crack the door open slightly to eavesdrop. Victoria's voice was cold as she asked, "Mr. Ethan, what do you need?" I clicked my tongue. Clearly, Victoria's head had been hit or something. She didn't even care about the official hero anymore. Ethan slammed his fist on the desk, seething with rage. "Victoria, how could you do this to me? Do you realize that your public statement has completely destroyed my career since I returned?" The Victoria I knew would never have hurt me like this. Victoria interrupted him sharply, her tone unwavering. "Mr. Ethan, I've already spared your dignity out of consideration for our past. Otherwise, just for hiring trolls to smear my husband online, I wouldn't have let you off so easily." Ethan refused to back down, vehemently denying the accusation. "It wasn't me." "Victoria, we've known each other for 8 years and we're together for 2. Don't you know me better than this? It must be Sincere trying to drive a wedge between us. Everyone knows he's always been jealous of me." I anxiously picked at the doorframe, my heart pounding. According to the usual tropes, the domineering female lead should blindly trust the hero. But why was Victoria acting differently? I caught a glimpse of something. The black card that should have been thrown in my face was instead tossed onto the desk in front of Ethan. Victoria's voice was calm as she said, "There's enough money here for you to live comfortably abroad for the rest of your life. From now on, don't ever appear in front of me or Sincere again." I was dumbfounded. Wasn't this the exact line Victoria said to me when we got divorced? How was it now all directed at Ethan? And that $1 billion black card, Wasn't that supposed to be my rightful compensation? How did it end up with him? Victoria, you just stop. Let's at least leave a little dignity for each other, she said coldly. Then Ethan was kicked out. I hadn't even had time to make my escape when he caught me red-handed. His bloodshot eyes bore into mine, seething with fury, blaming me for stealing his woman. Meanwhile, I stared back at him with equal intensity, blaming him for taking my money. Sincere, you win, Ethan muttered before snapping the black card in half right in front of me. My heart shattered at that moment. Over the past 3 years since I was thrown into this ridiculous story, every time I felt like I couldn't go on, that $1 billion breakup fee had been my sole motivation to persevere. And now not only had it gone to Ethan, but he didn't even appreciate it. With trembling hands, I gingerly picked up the broken black card from the ground. My eyes welled up with tears. Damn it, could this thing even still be used? But before I could fully process the pain of losing $1 billion, Ethan's fist came hurtling toward my annoyingly handsome face. That punch ignited my fury, and the next thing I knew, we were brawling, punches flying, no mercy given. We fought from the top floor of the company all the way down to the street until my left arm was dislocated and he cracked a rib. Only then were we both carted off to the hospital. However, seeing Victoria only caring for me, fussing over me at the hospital, completely broke Ethan's spirit. As he slunk away in despair, I called out to him, my expression serious. Wait, I think it's time we join forces. Ethan froze mid-step, confused. I sighed deeply and clenched the broken black card in my hand. This time, I was resolute. I had always believed that if I stuck to the storyline and played my role properly, I could make it to the end of the story and survive. But now the plot was so far off track that it was unrecognizable. If we didn't do something to steer it back, we were doomed. After all, Ethan and I were supposed to be on the same team. He wanted the girl. I wanted the money. Our goals were clear and aligned. I was confident that if we worked together, we could see this through to the grand finale. That very night, Victoria received shocking news. Ethan and I had both been kidnapped, and the captors demanded $1 billion in ransom to save us. Yes, this was Ethan's and my grand scheme unfolding. Sitting on a rocky shoreline, leisurely munching on an apple, I glanced sideways at a visibly tense Ethan. So, has Victoria agreed to pay the ransom? Yeah, he replied, still uneasy, his eyes darting toward me. She's on her way here with the money. He still seemed skeptical. Do you really think this will work? Do you have any better ideas to win Victoria back? I countered. Ethan fell silent, realizing he didn't. I knew he didn't fully trust me, but I also knew he was out of options when it came to Victoria. He had no choice but to follow my plan, however reluctantly. Treating a dead horse like it's alive, as they say, I tossed the apple core aside and patted him on the shoulder reassuringly. Relax, brother. Stick to the plan, and Victoria will come back to you sooner or later. He narrowed his eyes at me. Why are you helping me? I'm not helping you, I'm helping myself. Soon enough, Victoria arrived at the designated location. Ethan and I were tied up, perched precariously atop a seaside cliff. The ocean waves crashed violently below us in the darkness. Victoria, her expression frantic, tossed the money-laden bag at the kidnappers. Here's the money. Now let them go. I shot the kidnapper a look. She pocketed the bag and began reciting the lines we'd rehearsed earlier. Miss Victoria, $1 billion is only enough to save one person. Choose your first love or this puppy. You have 2 minutes to decide, or I'll push them both off the cliff. Victoria's voice turned icy. Are you playing games with me? The kidnapper faltered slightly under her frosty demeanor but quickly recovered. Thankfully, I furiously mimed reminders from the sidelines to keep her on script. Ha! Miss Victoria, aren't these the same underhanded tactics you often use in the business world? I'm merely applying what I've learned from you, the kidnapper retorted smoothly, justifying her role and actions perfectly. Now it was Ethan's turn to act. Victoria, save Sincere, he said, his voice trembling. I know your heart no longer holds a place for me. If that's the case, then just let me die. I had to admit Ethan's acting was on point, vulnerable yet defiant, with just the right touch of heartfelt sincerity. He gazed at Victoria with a mix of longing and resignation. I only hope that after I'm gone, you'll remember me forever. The kidnapper nudged me discreetly, signaling that it was my turn to deliver some final words, but I hadn't prepared any lines. Seeing my hesitation, the kidnapper sighed and seamlessly took over. So, Miss Victoria, have you decided who will die? I want both of them alive, Victoria snapped, refusing to back down, but her anxious eyes kept darting toward me. It seemed like if we dragged this out any longer, she might actually choose Ethan to die. To prevent that disastrous outcome, I decided to take matters into my own hands. Feigning a slip, I let my body plunge off the cliff. As the howling wind rushed past me, I could faintly hear Victoria's heart-wrenching scream, "Sincere!" The icy salt water filled my nose and ears as I sank deeper. Then, freeing myself from the ropes, I swam like mad under the cover of darkness, eventually making it back to shore 5 kilometers away. Collapsing on the sandy beach, I stared up at the sky and laughed maniacally. Ha 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 ha! I'm finally out of this story. Goodbye, drama. Hello, yachts, sports cars, and a carefree retirement. After faking my death, I embarked on the life every man dreams of, a wealthy bachelor's paradise. The first thing I did was buy a yacht and set off on a solo journey across the Pacific. And as promised, I made sure to share my wealth with my sisters. The moment she handed me a glass of champagne, her face was full of worry. "Do you think Victoria will come after us?" she asked nervously. I took a sip of champagne, leaned back, and closed my eyes as if resting. "Relax," I said, trying to reassure her. "We've crossed the Pacific Ocean. Even if Victoria has all the power in the world, she won't find us here." I had barely started to bask in my own confidence when a loud crash jolted me out of my seat. Panicking, I pulled off my sunglasses and looked around. "What's going on? Did the yacht hit a reef? Are we sinking?" I asked anxiously. My companion hesitated before timidly pointing behind me. "Victoria, she's here." I followed her gaze and froze. On a nearby yacht, Victoria stood there, glaring at me with an icy intensity that sent chills down my spine. Oh crap, she actually found me. This can't be real. I'm supposed to be dead. Could Ethan have ratted me out? Before I could make sense of it, the yacht was intercepted. Victoria stormed aboard, grabbed my arm, and dragged me back with her. During the journey, she didn't say a single word. Her silence was suffocating, her fury palpable. I shrank into the corner, too terrified to speak, though my mind raced, desperately searching for a way out. Maybe I could deny everything, insist that I wasn't sincere but just some random guy who happened to look like him. Yeah, that could work. I licked my dry lips, ready to plead my case, but Victoria cut me off. "So are you planning to deny being sincere and pretend you don't know me?" My heart stopped. How did she know? Victoria smirked coldly. "Ever since that car accident 6 months ago, I've had the ability to read minds. Oh, and stop cursing me in your head right now." I didn't believe her. Testing her claim, I thought, Victoria is such an idiot. Her expression darkened as she slammed her palm against the table. "I told you not to insult me in your head." I was done for. Absolutely done for. How could a story's cold and unremarkable corporate queen suddenly develop mind-reading powers after a car crash? And the fact that she had been eavesdropping on my thoughts for months? Terrifying. Victoria's piercing gaze bore into me, as if she could see my soul. Panicking, I started reciting nursery rhymes in my head. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." When I repeated the rhyme for the 39th time, she finally lost her patience. She grabbed me by the collar and pinned me against the wall. "Why did you lie to me? Why are you so desperate to leave me? Twinkle, twinkle, little star." "Enough, sincere." I blinked innocently. But according to the story, I should have been out of the picture by now. Besides, Ethan is supposed to be your destined lover. I'm just the devil, the villain. How could I possibly compete with the hero for your affection? Victoria bit her lip, her frustration evident. "I don't care if this is a story or the real world. The person I love is you, not Ethan. I opened my mouth to argue, but she interrupted again. No buts. Even if the sky falls, there's someone taller to hold it up. What are you afraid of? But Ethan is here, I said weakly, nodding toward the door. Victoria turned, and sure enough, Ethan was standing there in a pristine white suit. His face was pale as a ghost. Upon being caught, his first instinct was to shift the blame onto me. Victoria, let me explain. I wasn't the one behind Sincere's fake death. The mastermind is actually— Victoria cut him off, her voice cold. I already know it wasn't you. Ethan forced a smile. So you're blaming me anyway? Her long lashes cast shadows over her face as she lowered her gaze. I'm not blaming you, Ethan. But don't you understand? It's been over between us for a long time. Ever since the car accident, when I gained the ability to read minds, I realized something. I'm just a fictional character in a book. My sole purpose is to fall in love with you. Every action, every word, every moment of my life was preordained. But that's not what bothers me. What hurts is what I learned about you, Ethan. When Sincere mentioned that your overseas studies were just an excuse to spend time seducing other women, I didn't believe it at first. But then I saw it with my own eyes, how you use the same lines, the same tactics to charm woman after woman, just like you did with me. Ethan panicked. Victoria, it's not what you think. My feelings for them were nothing like what I feel for you. I truly love you. Victoria's lips curled into a sad smile. I'll admit I once loved you, but that was in the past. Leave, Ethan. Don't ever come back. While they argued, I was losing my mind. So this is why the story's plot went off the rails. I was indirectly responsible for the breakup of the main couple. Would the fictional world collapse because of this? Would I be erased? Goosebumps crawled up my arms as I heard Ethan's final words. Fine, I'll leave, he said coldly. But don't come crying to me later, Victoria. With that, he turned and walked away. I saw my chance to escape, but was immediately grabbed by Victoria. Reflexively, I chanted in my head, Twinkle, twinkle, little star. She gently cupped my face, her voice soft yet firm. Don't even think about running away. Darling, in this lifetime you can never escape from me. Ethan truly never appeared again. I was always worried that I might fail my task as devil and be erased by this world. But I waited and waited. Time passed, our child was born, went to kindergarten, then elementary school, middle school, yet nothing unusual happened. Victoria had left the entertainment industry and fulfilled our dream of traveling around the Pacific. Sitting at the bow of the ship, I couldn't help but feel emotional. The storyline had completely gone off the rails. What if one day, the child and I suddenly got plucked out of this storybook universe? What would happen to Victoria if she ended up all alone here? Suddenly, I felt a wave of warmth from behind. Victoria gently embraced me, her soft voice brushing against my ear. Don't worry, darling. If this world resets again, I will still find a way to come back to you. And if next time it's not me, I will wait and wait until it's you.